everyone, my name is Mary Case. I'm an artist from Ludington, Michigan, and I have an art gallery and studio, Art by Mary Case Gallery and Studio. Today I'm going to show you how you can take this pre-thrown clay form and make yourself a wonderful coffee cup, or if you would just want to keep it as a pot, that's okay too. Now in your kit, you'll have a variety of objects. They're here in front of me. You'll have your pre-thrown clay piece. You'll have a piece of slab of clay and then just a lump of clay. You'll have 3 tools. One of them will be a sharp pointer tool like this. I call this a needle tool. Then you'll also have a tool that has, hopefully it won't have crusty clay like mine. It will have a squared edge and a rounded edge. This is your carving tool. And then you'll also have a wooden tool or a pointer tool. And this is really great for drawing as well. Your kit may come with a jar. If not, just grab one from home and fill it up with water, but we'll also send you a board because you really need to work on a surface that's like this. It works a lot better. And then what I did is I kind of sketched a little picture of a flower. This is kind of my idea to do like a floral design on my pot. If you want to just carve right away on your pot, you can. If you struggle with the whole idea of drawing, you can print something off on the computer or clip something out of a magazine. If I were to take this piece of paper and just lay it on here like so, I could use my needle tool and kind of just poke some holes along the line of my drawing so that way after I lift off the paper, I have a nice kind of dotted line, like a connect the dots, so that I can then carve into my piece. So now I'm going to just sort of give you an idea of some things you can do. Now keep in mind, you don't have to do a floral design like I'm doing. Maybe you like nature and you want to do trees or mountains, or maybe you like geometric shapes. Or perhaps, as I am a resident of Michigan, you might be a Michigan fan and want to do a big U of M emblem. Or maybe you want to make a cup for mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, or put your name on it, or write a slogan or whatever. The sky is the limit, and clay is very forgiving. So if you make a mistake with a little bit of water and some pressing of your finger or adding a pinch of clay, you can fix just about anything that you mess up. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of show you how wonderful it is to carve into this kind of what we call leather hard piece of clay. I'm using the sharp end of my, I'm going to use the sharp end of my tool here because it's really nice for carving. You sort of get these clay pieces that get stuck, and I just kind of flick them to the side. They're really easy to clean up later if you just sort of let them dry. They can be swept up if they're on the floor. And I'm just carving away, making myself some nice little petals on this leather hard piece of clay. Mine's slightly softer than leather, but you definitely want your piece to be malleable. And this is the way it should arrive when you pick up your kit. So that's our goal. Now I have this extra piece of clay here in case you want to add, an appendage to your cups. I roll these out at the studio, and so you usually get a little bit of a texture from the canvas, and you can actually with your finger just smooth away that texture if you don't want it. I don't recommend really using water because if you use water, the clay gets kind of slimy and muddy, and we don't want that unless the clay is drying out. And if your clay gets a little dry, just get a piece of paper towel wet, wring it out, wrap your clay in that paper towel that's wet, and then put it in the plastic bag or wrap plastic around it for a little while, and it'll soften it right up. So with this clay slab, I'm going to cut myself a leaf to go on my mug. Just a simple leaf shape. And then I'm going to attach it to this cup that I have here. But the way I do that is a technique that's called scoring. So I'm going to use my needle tool, and I'm just going to put some little slashes or hashtags in the area where I'm planning on attaching this leaf. And then on the back side of the leaf, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to do some scoring like this, and then add water on both the appendage and onto your pot. And then you're going to gently push. Now you may need to put your hand on the inside so you don't collapse your piece. And then after it's nicely attached, you can then draw some more texture on it if you want. Got a nice leaf there. I can do maybe a nice vine, and then I can attach some more leaves. Perhaps you're going to make this mug for your mother and you want to put her initial on it or her name. You could carve out maybe a letter. If you're not real good at doing these three things free-handed, we've got the wonderful technology of the computer now, where you can just print just about anything out, and then you can just, put mom. You could put her whole name on there. But anyhow, so again, you would have to score this to attach it. Now, the last step to this project is maybe adding a handle if you want a handle. And so we've got extra clay in your kit that's really great for rolling out a handle. Perhaps you're nervous about this part, and if you are, you can just send your cup back into the studio, and on the sheet of paper that comes with it where you have to fill out information, which I'll explain in a minute, you have an option of checking the box that says, please add a handle to my piece. If you'd like to add your own handle, then the best thing to do is to kind of get that blob of clay and start rolling it out. Now, getting that piece of clay round is a little trickier than you realize, so you might end up with a flatter handle, and that's okay. If you've ever looked at a ceramic piece, the sky's the limit on what kind of handle you could have. It could be twisted, carved into, flat, round, and then however it's placed on the cup is always very unique as well. So this is a really big piece of clay, and you aren't going to put your handle on like this because that would be a little obnoxious, and it would be really hard to hold your mug because you'd be way out here. Not good. But I like to roll it out a lot longer so that way I can sort of get a nice clean section for my handle. So I've kind of got this at a thickness down here where I think I would like it. And here's my tool. I'm going to do a little bit of cutting to kind of get my handle the size I think I'm going to need. Might have cut a little too much, so I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. Okay, so the handle, you could attach a handle like this, where it's attached like this, or you could do it like this, or you could do it like this. The sky is the limit on how you want to put your handle on. The idea is to figure out what kind of a handle you want, place it on your cup where you want it, get an idea of where that's going to be attached at, maybe make a couple little marks so when you pull the handle away, you sort of know where to score your cup, because you do need to score it very well. And attaching handles is very important to do it carefully with good scoring and a good connection, because you don't want your handle to break off, and they will break off if they're not connected well. So what I usually do when attaching a handle is after I get the water on there, I actually go back and score it a second time, because this handle needs to have a good, mucky, slippery surface. And then even a little more water doesn't hurt either. All right, so these are gummed up pretty good now. I usually get that one on the top, pushing it in, making sure my hand's on the inside of the mug, gently pushing the clay that's sort of wet there, and then get that attached down here. And of course we have a little bit of extra here. I like the little curl, but it's a little much, so I'm going to cut some of that off. But anyway, so you get that on there really well, and then with your finger, you're going to want to really work on doing some blending to make sure that that handle gets married to your cup. And Another technique you can do to make sure that that handle is well attached is to get a tiny piece of clay here, make a little snake, get it wet, and then I kind of like stuff it up and under here, and then with my finger I can blend and get even a more solid connection. So we got a cool little handle here, and it'll definitely work. I think that you want to make sure that you size it to your hand. So depending on if you have a small hand or a large hand, you can even add a little thumb thing on there if you want. Some people like to put a little appendage for the thumb, and you would score that as well. Always score every attachment. That way you could put your thumb there. So when you're done with your piece, you don't want to let it dry out too much, because if it gets brittle, it won't do well in travel. And when it comes back to the studio, I'll inspect your piece to make sure everything is attached well. You're going to want to put that piece back into the plastic bag that came with your kit. Get it in there like so. Then once it's in there, kind of push the air out and seal up your bag, and then pack everything back into your box, making sure that everything heavy, like the board, and if your kit comes with a jar, is at the bottom of the box, and your clay piece goes on top. Before you send it back to the studio, you're going to look at this sheet that comes with your project, and you'll select a color. There's some on the back as well, and you'll fill out the information on the back of the sheet. And remember, if you don't want to add a handle, I can do it for you. And so with that, happy pottery.